Okay, today we're going to do trimming on the wheel. And I have one of my cylinders here. It's dry enough. It's still a little bit damp, leather hard, but it's pretty good, so it doesn't distort when I pick it up. I'm going to look at the inside and kind of try to get a visual and a feeling for how thick the bottom is. Okay, it feels like it's about maybe 3/8 of an inch thick or so. I'm going to turn my piece over here on the wheel. I want to make sure this is dry. I can use my rings that are on my wheel head to try to help me get it into the center. And remember, what I care about is centering this part. If this is a little bit off, I don't mind as long as this is centered up at the top here. What is the base of the piece? Okay, so I'm going to get the wheel started. So what I'm going to do is hold my finger and stationary in one spot. And when the piece hits my finger, I'm going to stop the wheel, push 90 degrees away from just directly away from that spot that it hit. Do the same thing again. Right there. Much closer now. Until I get it to where it's pretty much touching my finger evenly all the way around. Okay? Now once I have that, I'm going to get a little piece of clay. I'm going to split it up into 3 pieces. Make a little coil. Like that. Okay? I'm going to hold it here so that it doesn't move around when I try to secure this. And when I push this to hold it down, I'm pushing it directly onto the wheel head so much. I don't really want to push it onto the piece too much. I want to just get it onto the wheel. Stick this here. And again, just onto the wheel head. Okay. There you go. So I have it secured now. I'm going to take my trimming tool. Get it all cleaned off here. It's my loop tool like this. And first I'm going to use my little end of my loop tool. And what I want to do is define where my foot ring is going to be. So the outside of my foot ring, I want it to be a little inset. So I'm going to start to cut down a little bit with my tool. Just to kind of define, okay, that's my outside of my ring. Alright, so now I'm going to come in to the inside of my foot ring. Okay. And, for my inside, what I can do is start in the center. Again, using the little end of my tool. If this trimming just starts to get in your way or whatever, just stop, remove that piece, put it to the side. There's a little air bubble there. Just going to ignore that. Okay. Go back to the center again. What I want to do is I always want to work on the side that's going away from me. So I always want to work on this side, from the center to here. I don't want to work on this side because the clay is coming towards my tool. And the cutting edge of my tool is on this side. Also, that'll start to get in my way probably if I try to do it on that side. Now, I've cut away some on the inside, just that helps me see where I'm going with that interior. I'm going to come out here now and start to cut my foot ring down a bit. Give it a little depth. I want to create enough depth with my foot ring so that glaze is not going to be a problem. When I glaze this area, I don't want it to like bubble up or start to stick to the kiln shelf inside the kiln. So I want to have some depth to that. It needs to be at least, you know, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 1/8 of an inch anyway. On the outside here, I'm going to go ahead and cut away some from the side. There's probably a little bit of thickness down at the base of the wall itself that I can remove. And here, again, I can start with the little end. That way it's less surface contact with the tool, and so it's not putting as much stress on the clay. Once I remove enough that I want, I'm going to come back and use the side of my blade to kind of remove those ridges, kind of finish it up a little bit. Oop. Sometimes that can happen. So if that happens, you can just put it back on usually. Not a big deal. This can happen too with my tool being a little, grabbing the piece a bit. So when your cylinder is taller, it's something you gotta kind of watch out for a little more. Anyway, no big deal. I'm gonna come back here. It's still pretty centered. Cut this down. Hold it a little bit now with my hand, keep that shifting from happening. Put a little bit of an angle on it now. Here, another little angle on it. Flatten this out just a hair, make sure this is nice and flat. I'm going to come on my inside again, trying to get my flatter part of the blade in there. Kind of smooth this out, even it out. So this is pretty good. What I want to do now is just take a very slightly damp sponge, just lightly dampen this. You don't need a lot of water. And just use my finger to kind of smooth out the roughed areas. Okay? Like that. Sometimes with that outside, that exterior, it's hard to see, but there's a texture, a textural quality left from the tool that I sometimes like to leave, or even enhance by coming back and kind of intentionally leaving a mark with the tool. That's just kind of a decorative thing. It's not required or anything. All right, so I think we're pretty good there. What you do want to do at the end is put your initials in the base somewhere. I just usually write my name like that, and just some way of identifying that it's yours. It could be a mark, it could be the symbol, whatever you want to put there to just identify it as your piece. I'm now going to remove these little pieces of clay down here, just carefully. And this should just pop right up. So you can see the cut marks I was talking about. You can see the textural quality there. It's a little bit different than the thrown area. And, you know, it's just my little cylinder. Could be a drinking cup, whatever, so we're set to go. Okay, that's it for now, and I'll be demoing this in class as well. Okay, thanks.